Hello everyone and welcome to another session of AP Human Geography with Mr. Elrod. Today we're going to continue on in Unit 5, Agriculture and Rural Land Use. Today we're going to move on to the topic of the Green Revolution. So we've discussed in our previous two videos, we discussed the Neolithic Revolution and the Second Agricultural Revolution. And the Green Revolution, I've seen different categorizations and things. So sometimes it's called the Third Agricultural Revolution, sometimes it's called the Green Revolution. So we'll just stick with the Green Revolution, just know that that's possible that could be thrown out there as the Third Agricultural Revolution. And the Green Revolution began around the 1950s when a scientist by the name of Norman Borlaug started working towards different seed varieties, and really what he was looking for, or really what he was looking to do, was try to provide benefits towards less developed countries so that they could support their own populations. We began seeing growing populations in less developed parts of the world, and when we look at kind of those who are concerned with growing world populations, a lot of it has to do with obviously stress on the environment, people's ability to feed themselves, and so the idea here was so that some of these countries could be self-sufficient and provide for themselves. So the focus of the Green Revolution is the development of hybrid seed varieties, and also the development of new types of fertilizers. And again, the purpose is so that less developed countries could try to maximize the output of crop production on their farms. And so that's my third point there. Really the focus is on less developed countries supporting their native population in their country so they wouldn't be dependent on more developed countries for their food supply. So some examples of states that benefited from this Green Revolution specifically were Mexico and India. The seed varieties, or the grain varieties, that were primarily focused on during this time were wheat, maize, and rice. And during the Green Revolution, some things that were a part of the elements of the Green Revolution were some new pesticides and fertilizers were required to help sustain these new seed varieties because of the development of things like monocultures, planting of singular seed varieties. And so as a result, some new fertilizers and pesticides were needed to be developed, and also because of the concern that if you're planting a monoculture, then it's possible that a blight might wipe out your entire crop harvest for that particular year. The Green Revolution was relatively successful because on a global scale, what we began to see was a reduction in world hunger. And the reason we saw that reduction in world hunger was because there was a increase in grain production by about 45% between the years 1945 and 1990. And by the year 1980, India was actually able to produce enough wheat in order to support its own population. So by those accounts, the Green Revolution was relatively successful. However, one of the problems of the Green Revolution is that seed varieties were not developed, or I guess could not be developed, for the continent of Africa. Different varieties of millet and sorghum were not developed so that the people of the continent of Africa could plant those particular varieties, and also the rice and wheat varieties apparently could not be grown in most parts of Africa. And so with the Green Revolution, even though it increased production in some parts of the world, Latin America, also in India, Africa was not able to take advantage of some of the developments. Now, the Green Revolution was not without its problems, and those who point to the problems of the Green Revolution say that instead of improving situations around the world, in fact, what's happened is greater inequality has been created by the Green Revolution because of the fact that now farming has become much more expensive. The hybrid seed varieties are much more expensive than the traditional seed varieties, but not only that, the resources necessary to farm the land, as far as the machines and the fertilizers and the pesticides, are also very expensive. And also, less developed countries and farmers from less developed countries are forced to obtain their resources from more developed countries where the technology comes from. And so because of the inadequate resources of either the less developed country or the farmers in less developed countries, then that's going to create inequality. But not only that, the only people really that are going to have access to the seed varieties and the technology are going to be the wealthy in those countries. And so the access to the technology and the seeds is not necessarily maybe to the poor family farmer who could really benefit from increased production. Some other problems that are noted as a part of the Green Revolution is increased increased pollution as a result of the greater use of energy. Obviously, if we're talking about bringing more land under cultivation and we're talking about more mechanization of agriculture, then through that there's going to be greater pollution because we're going to be using machines, and of course the machines are going to use gasoline, and so with that you're going to have greater amounts of pollution. Also, because of the use of pesticides, obviously the concern not just pesticides in general as far as killing off bug populations, but also the potential for leaching or runoff when the pesticides either leach into the drinking water or run off into local rivers or streams. There's also the concern of water use. Obviously, water is necessary in order to grow the plants and grow the crops. If there are more farmers who are growing, I guess maybe not just more farmers, but more land being brought under cultivation, then you're going to have to increase the use of water. And then, so that potentially could put strains on water resources, not just for agricultural purposes, but also for human consumption as well. There's also a concern in the lack of diversity in seed strands. One of the ways that farmers for generations have tried to stave off blight was by using a variety of different seed strands, just in case something might come through and destroy one particular variety of crop. The others were able to survive. But if you have large amounts of monocultural agricultural production taking place, then there's the greater potential, I guess the greater risk that a blight could take place. Well, that's all that we're going to have time for today. Hopefully you will come back next time, and we are going to be talking about the bio-revolution.